It's the Second World War. Nazi Germany and Soviet Russia were at opposite ends, fighting for the Baltic Sea territory. The German U-boat U-479 was operational in the Baltic Sea and is rumoured to have been on a secret mission. Would it be possible to find the lost boat?
Hunt for U-479.
But it's not only wars that create shipwrecks. Baltic Sea is a hazardous sea, with extreme weather and shallow waters, thousands of islands and rocky shores, and harsh winters when thick ice covers the northern coastlines. The environmental conditions are also unique. The water is cold and the saline levels too low for most marine species to survive, including corals and the shipworm that everywhere else destroys shipwrecks in no time at all. Baltic Sea is filled with well-preserved wrecks. It's a treasure trove for any diver or archaeologist. This adventure started a long time ago, far, far away. It's wintertime. We are in Finland in the suburbs of Helsinki, visiting our old friend, Jari Lintukankari. Jari's an engineer and a diver, interested in the maritime history. And for years, Jari's been thinking about a Second World War collision between a Russian submarine Lembit and a German U-boat U-479 that got lost in the Baltic Sea at the end of the Second World War. Wouldn't it be great to try and find the boat? And wouldn't that make a great documentary film?
On the 15th of November 1944, German U-boat U-479 was on a secret mission in the Baltic Sea. After sending its last radio message, it disappeared without a trace.
Jari talked about this incident to his old friend Kimmo Kuusniemi, who is a film director and a musician. Kimmo is also Finnish, but he's lived in England for years. The German U-boat U-479 is carrying out short missions at the eastern Baltic Sea. Lembit, a Russian submarine, is patrolling the Finnish waters. There was a lot of underwater activity in the Baltic Sea during the Second World War, and the Germans also used these shallow waters as a training ground. These boats were on a collision course. It is a reported fact that the Russian submarine Lembit hit an unidentified object. Was it the U-479 that sank into the depths of the Baltic Sea? Lembit is slightly damaged, and after surfacing reports that it has seen oil and German debris floating on the sea surface. Could it have collided with the German U-boat U-479? After the incident, Lembit went to Helsinki, Finland, for repairs. Over 60 years later, we search for the truth. The Baltic Sea is way up there in Northern Europe. The English name Baltic Sea is slightly misleading. It's not only surrounded by the so-called Baltic Sea states, but also Germany, Poland and Russia. and the Scandinavian, Sweden, Denmark and Finland. The locals don't necessarily call this water the Baltic Sea. For the Finns, Swedes and Germans, the Baltic Sea is the East Sea in their native tongues, and the Estonians logically call it the West Sea. From a filmmaker's point of view, it's hard to make a film about something what might have happened and what could be found. What if we never find the U-boat? So we started to think, and the more we thought, the bigger the idea got. When Kimmo and his partner Tatjana got back in the UK, the ball started rolling. How do we approach this? We are professional filmmakers, born and raised by the Baltic Sea, but complete novices in diving and anything to do with filming underwater.
Divers, so we thought we could do a talk with this guy Lee Bishop here in UK, and he gave me some pointers.
Sounds like a big bite. We needed help. We will need people to interview.
Do you remember where the map is? And then there's a long ferry to Tallinn Strait across the Baltic.
Oh, that's...
Oh, hi guys, yeah, just a second. Hey Tanya, we have a connection to Sweden.
Hi guys, we can hear you perfectly.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, my name is Kimmo.
Hi, my name is Tanya. Good to see you.
How are you guys?
We're fine, thank you.
We're fine.
Fine. Yeah, no, well, basically we are two Finns living here in UK. We've been here for 16 years and we are filmmakers and musicians. We've done...
So can you tell something about yourselves?
My name is Charlotta Karlén, and I've been diving.
My name is Per, by the way.
Yeah, my name is Tor, and
We have been doing quite a lot of underwater filming for the last 5 years or so. I think we're pretty good doing what we do.
That's good.
So, the investigation begins in Stockholm, Sweden. Kimmo and Tatjana flew to Stockholm, while Jari took the ferry to Tallinn, where the now Estonian Lembit submarine resides. We came to Stockholm to meet our diving team, and here they are in person. Per, a calm and focused sympathetic shrink, a real-life partner to Charlotta, and a diving partner in the group. We couldn't have done this series without his strength and technical know-how.
Han svarar inte.
Ja, men så ska jag nog take your every the neck on my hood.
Charlotta, Smiley Lotta, works in IT but is really into the history of wrecks. She dives and regularly writes about them. It's rare to find women in this business.
Stop here.
Tor, a man's man and a family man, was born in Norway and has a diving shop in the centre of Stockholm, is an experienced technical diver and hooray, an underwater cameraman. Just what we were looking for.
Jag är dygg på han.
The waters outside Stockholm are deeper and more challenging than on the shallower eastern Baltic, giving them many opportunities to hone their skills. If you are enthusiastic enough, not even the ice or winter stops you from diving.
you have to give me the camera.
Tor took down the camera for some under-ice images.
There's a pick up there.
We are outside a pretty residential island. There are a couple of wrecks here in a shallow water that the divers go to see regularly. This is not only ice diving, it's also town centre diving. We never thought we could do this in such a civilised manner. The water was really murky today, so we concentrated on the surface pictures. This often happens in the Baltic. The visibility can be really poor. The divers did a short dive to see the wreck anyway, without the camera. It couldn't have been a more beautiful day. The sun was shining, everyone was having fun.
Var det kiva?
Jättekiva.
Remember these faces. We'll meet these people again soon. They are going to be our main diving team in this series, sharing their stories, doing expeditions and spending time with us at the Baltic.
What are you doing in the plane?
It's a class point of view.
The next trip they will make will be Narvik. They will send us some great video footage from there. Soon it will be summer and we'll spend more time together. While the team were busy diving, Charlotta has organised us to visit the Vasa. Without a doubt, the most impressive maritime museum in the whole world is the Vasa Museum in Stockholm, Sweden. This purpose-built museum houses a famous wreck of the 17th century warship. It's nice in the summer, but we were there in the winter time. Vasa is a massive Swedish warship that sunk in the centre of Stockholm on her maiden voyage in 1628. You could say that Vasa is the very own Titanic of Sweden. Just maybe the words most powerful or unsinkable should never be used when you're building a ship. Vasa lay at the bottom of the sea in an amazingly good condition for 330 years before she was found, raised, restored and displayed in all her glory for everyone to admire. We went to meet two enthusiastic Vasa experts. We'll let them introduce themselves. General public are not allowed on board, but we got special permission.
Well, I'm Fred Hawker. I'm the head of research here at the Vasa Museum. I've been here for 2.5 years. Before that, I was an archaeologist for the National Museum of Denmark, and before that, a professor at Texas A&M University, where I taught maritime archaeology. If you're a maritime archaeologist, there is no more amazing project you could work on than this one.
My name is Patrik Höglund. I work at the Swedish Maritime Museum as an underwater archaeologist, specializing in ships from Swedish Great Age of Power, 17th, 18th centuries.
The ship was built in a relatively short time, just a couple of years in the 1620s. Gustav Adolf, who was the king of Sweden in those days, needed to expand his navy because he was engaged in a new kind of amphibious warfare. At the same time, he wanted to demonstrate to his rivals, mostly Christian IV of Denmark and his cousin Sigismund in Poland, that he was the most powerful king in the Baltic. And one way to do that in that period, if you were a great king, you had to have a great navy with great ships. And so he had Vasa built to be the most powerful ship in the Baltic. And they didn't quite get the balance right. So when the ship sailed, it was very unstable. There was too much weight high up in the ship. And about 1,500 meters into its maiden voyage, a gust of wind heeled it over to one side. The gun ports were open so they could fire a salute. Water ran in through the gun ports on the port side and went to the bottom like a stone. It was about 100 meters offshore, maybe 150 meters offshore, and there were a lot of small boats that were following the ship because it was the maiden voyage. It was on its way down to its squadron station out in the archipelago. And so all those small boats rushed in and picked people up. And the ship's masts were still above the water, and so people could hang on to the rigging until they could be rescued if they couldn't swim. About 30 people died.
Vasa isn't exceptionally wrong constructed.
No, it's typically built for its time.
Yeah, the ships at the time were very unstable.
By our standards.
And a lot of ships sank because of that. But Vasa sank very early.
Right. Which is fortunate for us. I mean, they tried to salvage the ship, and in the 1660s, they actually used divers and a diving bell and managed to recover all but 3 of the ship's 64 guns. Vasa's an early attempt to have 2 full gun decks. I mean, there weren't any ships with 2 full gun decks much before Vasa. But eventually that was settled on as the optimum solution in something that was called the 74-gun ship. But that took until about 1750 before they'd come up with the right combination of size and the number and type of guns to make it work. Vasa, paradoxically, provided a key piece of that experience. That there was an inquest afterwards, and one of the things that they were trying to get to the bottom of was, of course, whose fault it was, who could be punished, but also to get to some understanding of what the problem was, with the idea that you would not repeat that same mistake. And we know, for example, that Vasa's, you could sort of say, sister ship, a vessel of the same size and armament that was built at about the same time, served in the fleet for 30 years and was deliberately sunk as a blockage at the end of that time. So that they did, you can say, they did learn from this experience. You didn't reckon how powerful or important a warship was by its physical size. It was what kind of armament it carried. And Vasa's armament is what made it so powerful. 2 full decks of 24-pounder cannon. If you were going to have an inquest today, under the current rules of maritime law and responsibility, we have enough knowledge to say who would be blamed today, and that would be the captain. For 2 things. They conducted a stability test of the ship before it sailed, and they realized that the ship was not stable, dangerously unstable as a matter of fact. But the Navy had accepted the ship anyway, and the captain had accepted the ship and sailed it. If the gun ports on the lower gun deck had been closed, the ship probably would not have sunk that day. There was a civilian engineer who worked for the Swedish Navy named Anders Franzén, who was very interested, like a lot of naval officers in that period were, in the history of the Swedish Navy. And one of the ones he was most interested in was Vasa. And there were historical documents that indicated approximately where the ship sank. So he started searching the area using a homemade coring device. It was a plummet, essentially a punch on the end of a weight that he would drop over the side and then see what stuck in the punch. And he searched the area off of Beckholmen Island systematically, doing this, until he hit an area where he was getting plugs of wood, of black oak, waterlogged oak in the coring device. 2 divers went down, and one actually ended up on the ship, and the other ended up next to it, and reported that he was up against a huge wooden wall with square holes cut in it. And his name was Per Edvin Felting, and he was the Swedish Navy's chief salvage diver. There isn't any other known warship that sank in Stockholm Harbor that would fit that description, except Vasa. It wasn't an archaeological project, it was a salvage project to raise the ship and conserve it and put it on display, driven initially by the Swedish Navy. All of the Navy's divers had to do an annual checkout dive. The Navy simply decreed that checkout dive would be working on Vasa. What they planned to do was refloat it. And so they had to block up all the gun ports. And the stern castle here behind us, this had all collapsed and been torn off by an anchor that had been dragged through the ship, probably in the 20th century. And so they had to close in that area so it would be watertight. So they built a new transom around the ship and a little bit at the bow.
And the last big thing they raised was the ship's boat. The big ship's boat, 12-meter, flat-bottom boat. The conservation took about 17 years, just the conservation of the wood.
To spray it with polyethylene glycol, and then another 9 years to dry it out after that. The restoration process went on with the conservation process. One of the things that is unique and powerful about this particular find because there isn't anywhere else that you can go and see essentially a complete original warship from the days of sail. I mean, if you go to see Victory in England, you're not actually seeing Nelson's Victory, you're seeing a lot of new oak and teak that has replaced Nelson's Victory. Or the same with USS Constitution in Boston or any of the other old wooden ships. What you're seeing here is you're seeing the original ship, at least 95% of it. And that has a very powerful effect on your imagination. I mean, we work here, we see it every day, and it's still, every time I come into the ship hall, I get that oh wow moment. But I can see how just standing next to it, it can affect your imagination that powerfully, to give you that sense of place and that sense of a past time.
The Vasa Museum attracts 850,000 visitors from all over the world each year. No wonder, Vasa is breathtaking. Stockholm has been called the Venice of Scandinavia, which sounds rather grand and is almost true. The waterways have always played an important part in the history of this town. Many ships have sailed these waters and also many have sunk. The centre of Stockholm is literally full of wrecks. The town itself is built on 14 islands and situated between the big lake Mälaren and the Baltic Sea. The first building in Stockholm was a fortification for the purpose of controlling the traffic between the Baltic Sea and the Mälaren. This is the Baroque-style castle of the popular Swedish royal family. The castle is for official use only and open for public. Just like in London, the changing of guards is a popular tourist pastime. The guard dates back to the early 16th century. Stockholm became an Hanse town in the 13th century. The German Hanseatic League was a trading monopoly in the Baltic Sea area. It remained a commercial association, not a political one. The League offered protection and privileges to its member towns and negotiated toll breaks with trading partners such as the City of London. The member towns prospered, which can still be detected in the impressive medieval architecture. And of course, one of the local attractions is this, the beautiful Swedish girls, and they seem to know that. The city of Stockholm has spread far beyond the small islands of the old town, but it's a beautiful place to see, and one of our favourite towns, full of narrow cobbled alleyways, shops, restaurants and bars, old churches and medieval town squares. These pretty scenes hide many bloody battles, mostly against the Danish rule, and mostly about the supremacy of the Baltic Sea trading routes. The dispute between Sweden and Denmark went on for hundreds of years. We start getting webcam reports from the Swedish diving team. They have dived steam cargo ship August 1000 just outside Stockholm.
Hi Kimmo.
Hi Kimmo and Tatjana.
This is the first attempt to actually make the voiceover thing we talked about. August 1000. It lays in the Baltic, a couple miles north of Stockholm. Mm-hmm. It's a steam engine cargo ship. Mm-hmm. Like normal size, they are mostly between like 60 to 75 meters. The depth is like around 50 meters. It's a really nice wreck to dive because the visibility is often really good. The wreck lays on a shelf on the bottom that is like a little over 50 meters, maybe 55 meters deep. And on the sides, there's a really steep drop off down to like over 100 meters. So the thing is that really cold, fresh water are pushed up from the deep part over the wreck. Yeah. And that's why the visibility is so good, because usually in this part of the Baltic, the visibility is pretty bad, maybe a couple of meters, but here you can have like 20 meters. And the current on the wreck can be really bad. It can be so bad like you have to drag yourself on the boat to actually move. But on this time we used the scooters, the underwater scooters, as you see, which helps a lot because we have like no problem at all scootering against the current. You can see a big extra reserve propeller.
Most of these ships carried an extra propeller on the ship with them all the time. This was because most of the time they were specially measured for that specific ship.
Yeah.
So
there are quite a lot of like personal stuff still on the boat, like stuff left by the crew when they left the boat. It wasn't us, but this other guy that we know, he found actually a wallet inside one of the cabins, and inside the wallet there was this wedding ring with an inscription of one of the crew members who actually died during the
sinking.
Yeah, the sinking. Right. So he wrote that name up, and he's actually right now trying to find out if there are any relatives left for. It's a pretty cool story.
So everybody fill their own tanks, or?
Most of the time I end up doing the tank.
Tor, Per and Lotta show us how the trimix gases are mixed and the bottles filled. Unlike in the traditional diving with air tanks, the technical divers need different mixes for different depths.
You can catch fire, like in the valves and in the tank, so that would be a pretty bad experience, I think.
Yeah.
Vi håller
So
på
it's leaking.
kolla på när det går.
I'll take this in workshop. Ska byta här.
Swedish panpipe.
This is more fun than filling tanks outside.
It's helpful to us to see the huge amount of gear they need.
Let's check the leak. No leak.
The team is preparing for a diving trip to Narvik, Norway. There they will dive a few wrecks, including a Second World War Nazi German U-boat, U-711, and its supply ship, Black Watch. It takes a lot of preparations to go diving with this team. While the diving team travels to Norway, Tatjana and Kimmo join Jari in Tallinn, Estonia. Jari is on his way back from the meeting with the Maritime Museum. For all the Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, the latest and successful bid for freedom and independence only happened in 1991, after the collapse of the Soviet rule. The change was peaceful and was called the Singing Revolution, because of the spontaneous rallying of ordinary people. In Estonia, about 300,000 people, 1/3 of the population, attended one singing gathering in Tallinn. In the hotel, Kimmo, Jari and Tatjana catch up on the project progress. While the trip to Sweden was a success, Jari has his doubts about the possible cooperation from the Estonian Maritime Museum. They seemed uncertain about giving us information, or helping us find the U-boat wreck, or renting us their research ship, Mari. We later found out that the Estonians had already agreed to help an American filming crew at the Baltic Sea the same summer. Maybe this affected their willingness to cooperate. And here's the famous Lembit and research ship Maritime. Lembit was going through renovation before its return to its current use as a museum ship. During the Soviet rule, private citizens were not allowed to dive the local wrecks. One exception to this rule was a legendary Estonian diver and wreck hunter, Velo Mas, seen here with the submarine Lembit in the summertime. Before leaving Tallinn, we visit the Tallinn harbour Pirita, where the submarine Lembit usually is moored. No sight of Lembit, no sight of summer, no research boat. We seem to have hit a brick wall. Feeling a bit sorry for ourselves, it's time to say goodbye to Tallinn for now and take a ferry to Helsinki. Far away from Estonia, our diving team and their friends are doing well in Narvik. Per and Lotte tell us via webcam how the dive on the Second World War German U-boat U-711 went. This boat is very much like the U-479 we are looking for. They also tell about the supply ship Black Watch.
Divers, their biggest dream is actually to dive a U-boat. It's kind of hard to understand if you watch the film. It's like a tube.
It's nothing.
The cool thing with it is like it's a teak deck, and the deck was still in place.
Yeah.
And you can see the propeller, you can see the tower and some stuff, and that's about it.
Yeah.
In this little harbor north of Narvik, the Germans had this service ship, or what it's called?
Yeah, supply
ship. Good. Where the seamen could have a rest, they could like watch you move, they could have like good food, and the story is they probably even can get themselves a woman or something on that ship. Because that's the story about the Black Watch, the supply ship. They have like actually prostitutes and shit. But so all the crew members on the U-boat were actually on the supply ship, the Black Watch, when the English bomb plane came and bombed the hell out of Black Watch. Direct hit with bombs. So, but some of maybe 2 or 3 of the crewmen on the U-boat managed to get back to the U-boat and like pull the plug more or less. So they actually sank it themselves.
Exactly. So it wasn't hit by anything, but it was sunk on purpose by the Germans. The interesting thing was when we were diving here, one old woman and a man, they were out fishing, and she was 16 years old when she witnessed the whole scenario of the sinking of the Black Watch and the Germans sinking their own U-boat and wounded soldiers getting washed up on shore. And she was trying to save, of course, the ones that she could save. So she was an old woman now, and she was out fishing cod, and they came up to the dive boat. Yeah.
And like, how are you diving the U-boat? And they know exactly where the U-boat was. So they were really eager to watch the film, the shots from the U-boat, and she went like all quiet.
Yeah. And if
we
would have had 2 cameras. Because now we lent her the camera to watch the film from the U-boat, but if we would have had an extra camera, it would have been great to film her when she was watching the underwater footage from the U-boat, because you could see,
touched.
yeah,
emotionally touched by the.
So we are back in Helsinki, capital of Finland, and Kimmo's old hometown. The research would continue from here. We'll have meetings with the Finnish Maritime Museum and other experts. These views are from a small island and local recreational park. And there's also the reminder that the Baltic Sea is an important commercial link between all these countries and beyond. Helsinki is also a working harbour. The Swedish divers are doing well in Narvik. Next they are diving the German U-boat supply ship, Black Watch.
This is actually my own premiere of video photographing because I was borrowing Tor's camera. He was kind of tired with like dragging it around, so I filmed this wreck, the Black Watch. That was the supply ship we was talking about just before. The German supply ship that was actually bombed to bits. It's pretty broken up, but it's really shallow. It's like from 20 meters down to 45. So you have quite good surface.
You can see apparently focusing on the different valves and stuff.
Actually filming the cannon.
Oh yeah. Here we have the divers penetrate
some of the superstructure where swimming in one of the windows. It's kind of cool, if I can say it myself. It's one of the best penetration shots we took inside this wreck.
Diving inside wrecks is a dangerous business and similar to cave diving. All the divers in this team are also experienced cave divers.
It was a great dive.
Yeah, and there you can see actually Håkan practicing some dive skills on top of the wreck. I hope that's still on the series. That's kind of fun.
The Finnish Maritime Museum is situated at an imposing location on a small island outside Helsinki called, very fittingly, Wreck Island. It's a familiar sight to every ship's captain and boatsman in these waters, a landmark by the Helsinki seaside. You get a good view of Helsinki, the Helsinki archipelago and the famous Finnish icebreakers from here.
We met maritime archaeologist Stefan Westman. He told us about the Finnish waters.
We actually have a lot of known wrecks in Finnish waters. For the moment, we have in our register 1,400 sites underwater. There are other things than wrecks in that archive. There are some planes and some cars and other things. Of these 1,400 objects, roughly 800 is ancient monuments, old wrecks that are more than 100 years old. For example, in almost all other waters you have a small mollusk called shipworm that is eating and penetrating wood, and they can eat a quite large wooden ship in just 20 years or something like that. Then there are some other things that are special in the Baltic Sea. For example, these are solid rocks. So when you hit them, you definitely will get a bad leak. And just beside these rocks, you can have up to 40 meters of water. So first you hit a rock and get a leak, and then you go down and you go deep. The most destructive phenomenon we have here is actually ice. But the ice doesn't go that deep. In worst case scenarios, you can have pack ice going down to 20 meters, but under that the wrecks are pretty safe. In Finnish waters, the oldest wrecks that we for the moment know about is from the 13th century. We have actually some older parts of boats in the Finnish lakes. They have been dated to the Viking Age. And then there are a couple of log boats that they are classified a little bit different. They have been dated all the way back to the Stone Age. There is actually one find of a Stone Age log boat in the center of Helsinki from Aleksis Kivenkatu.
Stefan seemed to get especially excited about the prehistoric wrecks. A wreck doesn't get any older than this. The Stone Age log canoe was found by a building team at the centre of Helsinki. The rising landmass in the Helsinki Peninsula has covered the site of an earlier sea bottom.
There will always be new opportunity, and constantly we are finding new wrecks also in our waters here. So there is enough job for many people here.
Our search for a research ship continues. One of the strong candidates is privately owned Ronja. It seems sturdy and spacious. But then we saw Pelagonia and suddenly felt that this is it. It's an old 1930s workboat from the Finnish archipelago that's been in leisure use for a long time. At some point it fell into a state of disrepair and is now being lovingly restored by its current owners.
Hän sen oli ostanut vissiin niin kuin siinä ajatuksessa, että se saa itselle sen hienon veneen, mutta se tajus siinä kohtaa, kun se rupesi kasvaa.
It looks a mess. How will all this be finished in time for our diving trip in a couple of months' time? The owners assure us that it's going to be fine and are happy to rent it to us for the whole month of August.
Se oli hyvä. Tässä on kuin 150 metriä tätä kettinkin, me pitää
So, that's it, really. We've done the research, found out about the Baltic Sea, the wrecks and the seaside locations. We have a professional diving team and a boat. We pack our bags, cameras and tripods. And our Baltic adventure begins. The whole summer will be spent travelling the countries surrounding the Baltic Sea, visiting locations, meeting experts and diving, and filming everything that happens on the way. The voyage starts from Harwich under good omens of fine weather. The smooth seas take us to Cuxhaven, Germany.
Our friend Jari flies to nearby Bremen and we drive to pick him up. Our first destination, the U-boat archive near Cuxhaven. The local naval historians are able to tell us more about the fate of the lost U-boat U-479. At the door, Kimmo and Jari are greeted by English-German author and maritime historian Jack P. Malman-Schowel. He has written over 40 books about German U-boats and will be able to help us.
Because when you go in, there is a shelf.
This vast archive is a result of lifelong work by Horst Bredow. As a young man, Mr. Bredow served on a German U-boat, and since then he has been collecting any information he can get about the history of U-boats and submarines.
Water like a fish.
That's true. He's well over 80 years old. His fluent English comes from the time he spent at the American prison camp after the Second World War. Jari and Mr. Bredow talk about the possible collision between Russian submarine Lembit and the German U-boat U-479.
Lost. It's funny, when I started there was almost nothing. Almost nothing. You must tell me when I should start.
You can start now.
Yeah.
You are ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, my name is Horst Bredow. I'm a former watch officer of a German U-boat in the Second World War. And when I came back from prisonership, I started to bring together the history of my boat, and so started this work in this archive. I never knew, and I never thought that it will become such a large size, but now it's done, and I'm an old man, and I'm working the whole day, or 8 to 10 hours a day, and I'm happy to do that.
The Swedish diving team dive Erik Giese, a well-preserved wreck of a German destroyer.
This is one of few, maybe the only actually totally intact German destroyer in the world. So it's a really exciting dive to do. You can see already in the first shots that the visibility is really good. And if you compare it to other scenes from the Baltic, you can actually see that the water is a bit bluer. It was sunk during full battle, and all of the ammunition and stuff was still on the boat, and it was so deep so they couldn't salvage stuff at that time, at that depth. And it's still leaking oil actually, so that's one of the reasons it's still prohibited to dive there. But we got permission to dive and to document it. And the things you see on the wreck, you can, of course, you probably recognize the cannons. The destroyers, they were equipped with 4 cannons, I guess.
And also you can see along the railing the depth chargers. They look like small barrels. Quite many of them down there. As well as a box, a mystery box. We don't know what it contains, but you can see one of the divers shining his light on it. We didn't open it, we thought it could be ammunition.
You can see the big propellers in there.
You can see also the angle of the propeller blades. It's a very high-speed ship.
So it's a really impressive boat and a really impressive dive to do. As you see, it's a more or less totally intact wreck.
We're getting to the torpedo tube.
Yeah, the torpedoes were shot from the torpedo tubes by compressed air, just over the railing of the boat, and then when landing in the water, it's propelled itself with a propeller.
The bridge, it got a few direct hits.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many, but that's the only part of the ship that's really damaged. The wind was pretty strong, and we also had a current because to deal with the tide. The biggest problem was that we didn't have enough line to tie the boat in, so we were at a very steep angle.
Right.
The pressure on the line was big, and I could see the line vibrating.
You can see the strain on the line. It was like vibrating really hard.
Yeah.
So at least Lotta realized the second before it broke that this is going to break.
Yeah. So I just gave a sign for shooting
the buoy that is attached to a line, so we can do the ascent on the new line, the new up line to the buoy, and the buoy makes us visible to the boat, so they can like drive around and protect us from the big dangerous boats.
Yeah. So it
went
fine.
It went fine, but it was a couple of scary minutes before.
We are looking for any information about the lost U-boat U-479 that sank in the Finnish waters at the Baltic Sea at the end of the Second World War. The archive has all the logbooks of all the U-boats.
You'd see each day the U-boat command lists where every U-boat was. So you can, with this, reconstruct the history of any U-boat which was lost.
Yes.
But what is also interesting is with some boats the pages are missing. And Admiralty had taken out those significant pages.
Where something happened.
Where something had obviously happened that Admiralty didn't want us to know about. Because these were captured by the British and Americans after the war. Well, why? Obviously something there.
Yeah, there's a mystery there. And probably a sunken ship as well.
The U-479 logbook, that if you can see it as a microfilm, that would be very interesting to see how that ends.
Author Jack P. Malman-Schawel lives in England, but he spends a lot of time in Germany doing research for his books. After a quick search, we find traces of the lost U-boat and even a photo of it.
Oh, there is one. Yeah, it's in the back. Yeah, it says in Helsinki, 1944.
It was sunk on the 12th of the 12th, 1944, near near Turku, by the Soviet U-boat Lembit.
There you go.
Axel Niestle, who was the expert in what happened to U-boats, doesn't name the Lembit. In the absence of a Russian attack to account for its sinking, there is presently no known explanation for its loss.
So that also sort of goes well with the story, doesn't it?
That goes well with it. Now, we don't know at all what happened to U-479. It just vanished.
We tried to find a way to give only to give out the facts.
Yes.
If any diver should find the wreck of this boat, U-479, he shouldn't go into the boat because it is a war grave.
But how can they identify the boat without going in it?
Not possible.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. What happened to U-479? Yeah, I can't answer it because.
Well, you have answered it. You've said that we don't know.
The future of the archives is currently uncertain. Horst Bredow is not a young man anymore. One interested party for keeping up the archives and collections is the town of Cuxhaven, and there are plans for opening a museum for this purpose. The Second World War era German history is still controversial, but the archives is definitely a valuable asset to writers, students and historians. The biggest maritime disaster in the world happened in the Baltic Sea. At the end of the Second World War, German ocean liners Gustloff, Steuben and Goya were overspilling with Germans fleeing the Russian occupation. A Russian submarine torpedoed and sunk them. It's such a massive and neglected tragedy that we listened to several stories. Legendary British diver Lee Bishop has dived and photographed Wilhelm Gustloff.
Yeah, it's kind of a wreck that is got serious political history. You know, huge amount of people died on that wreck, you know, massive loss of life, and it's a story that you just don't hear about, you know. I mean, it's like 25,000 ton liner built in the 1930s, built for the strength through joy period. It was like a period of time when Hitler was reigning. There was no first, second and third class passengers. It was all a classless society. You know, you've got to remember, a lot of people didn't buy into the Nazi party, you know. So, yeah, and as the Russian Red Army was advancing back in to that part of the world, this was like, you know, 1945, beginning of 1945, end of 1944, and basically they were evacuating on anything that was available. Of course, the Gustloff had been, you know, this huge, wonderful ocean liner, had been moored up in that bay for 3 or 4 years and hadn't moved at all. So what they did is they fired it up, and there were said to be 7,700 people left on that ship. That was a ship made for 1,500, 2,000 people at the most. Yeah. You know, so heavily overloaded. So what they did is they, you're bearing in mind this is January 1945. It's freezing cold. Parts of the Baltic are frozen, and it's minus 23 degrees. The Gustloff had left the harbour then. It was on its way out. And on its way out, there was a lot more ships actually pulled up alongside, and a lot of nets came down the side, and hundreds and thousands of more people climbed up the side. And some historians say there was a possibility there's 10,000 people who were on that wreck, on that ship when it sailed. Yeah. Now 2.5 hours out of the bay there, and she took a torpedo from a Russian submarine S-13 Marinishkov. But he torpedoed that and the Goya as well, and at the same time the General Steuben was another ship that was carrying a lot of people that had gone down, and so we're looking at something like 10,000 people on board that ship. Yeah. So what was the loss of life on that day? 10,000 people, 400 and something people survived.
That was massive loss of life.
Massive loss. That's Maritime's worst ever disaster, Roy. You know? Yeah, but you've never heard of it, have you? No, so many people have not heard this story. I was taking these beautiful wide-angle black and white shots of this wonderfully preserved poop deck with all the stern railing around it, yeah? And we swam round the stern, and you could see the letters Wilhelm Gustloff in Nazi
Still
Gothic lettering. It was unbelievable, you know, you really felt a sense of history down there. And another thing, Roy, we thought we thought we were going to see, you know, lots of human remains, but that actually wasn't the case.
But we never really see human remains on many wrecks, though, even though
well,
there's been loss of life.
You know, with 10,000 people, you would have thought you'd seen some. After the dive, I've come up, and I'm just sitting on the surface, and there's only one other place I felt a presence, and that was on the Titanic, when we was out on Titanic.
Yeah.
You know, you knew something bad had happened there.
In Dover, Jack tells his side of the story.
Passenger ships of World War II in Germany were built for economy, not speed. And when the Gustloff sailed, it was decided that being a passenger ship, it should go on its own. Now this was fine, except that it just didn't have the speed to outrun a submarine. The Gustloff then was attacked by a Soviet U-boat and it sank, but the losses were about 4 times that of the Titanic.
Tor, Per and Charlotte have dived General von Steuben several times.
If I was talking about, you know, the top 5 or the top 10 wrecks, this is definitely the top 1 wreck, the best wreck we have ever been diving. One part of it is, of course, this experience of diving this huge, cool wreck, but the other part is like diving to this gravesite. where like probably over 4,000 people lost their lives. That was kind of a spooky feeling, and the boat trip out, it's a 12-hour boat trip from the south part of Sweden. It's like in the middle of nowhere. We have no connections on the cell phones, no connection on the VHF. It's like in the middle of nowhere, and you just see on the echo sounder the shape of this huge wreck on the bottom. It's really creepy actually.
It's really difficult to get an idea of where we are and how and the distances. And soon we did discover that it was actually covered with nets.
This is the shots of the anti-aircraft gun.
Yeah.
And this is, I guess, the shot of the bell.
This is the bell?
Yeah. It's enormous. It must weigh like 100 kilo maybe. It's like a huge ship's bell.
But it doesn't have any inscriptions on it. And there you can see a fish actually caught in one of these nets. That you find them everywhere on the wreck. And here you can see
inside the bridge.
Yeah.
The place where the steering wheel has been.
Yeah, and
was
also
from the beginning. Yeah.
Telegraph.
The machine telegraph that signals down to the machine room, the engine room, what speed to go ahead or stop or whatever. That's one thing actually missing on the wreck is the main steering wheel. Someone stole it.
If you look closely, you'll see two skulls and.
It's a strange feeling diving here because you get like so amazed by this beautiful ship and all the things you see, and out of a sudden you start thinking about, my God, like 4,000 people dying there, and you see some remains. It's a really spooky feeling, and it's also some feelings of like guilt, like disturbing this grave place. But it's a really important story to tell. So we actually found the hole from the torpedo.
Yeah.
We got like two direct hits from torpedoes, and people who have found the other hole or the other place where the one torpedo hit, they say that it's just like a dent.
Yeah.
So it probably never went off. But we found a place where the torpedo definitely went off because there was a huge hole. What do you say? Like maybe 20 meters in diameter, like twisted metal. It was way below the water line. The wreck on the bottom today is 100% intact. Everything is still there. You can see the mast, you can see like the wires, the lights, the ship's bell, everything is there. We can't talk too much about Stormen because that's the wreck actually.
It is. It's the best wreck.
We met the historian and U-boat author Jacques P. Malmont-Schawel at the U-boat archive, and he recommended that we visit this museum boat. It's similar to the boat we are looking for, U-479, missing in the Baltic Sea. This U-995 is the world's only remaining Type 7C U-boat. Seeing one for real brings a few surprises. It's so small. When we'll be looking for one at the bottom of the Baltic Sea, it's going to be like looking for a needle in a haystack. It was hot and humid inside. Working and living in one of these things must have been a claustrophobic experience. Horst Bredow is a U-boat archivist and a Second World War German U-boat veteran. He tells about his life on board.
So the Baltic Sea was a very good room for training operations for the German U-boats. This training was very hard. Everybody, from the commander to the last sailor.
The sea moves in a most peculiar way, and you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
And he said the first time he was really seasick was when he was on a Type 2 boat.
A boat does not go so or so, it does go so, this way. And I was seasick. I thought I must die. It was always something to work aboard of a U-boat. And when everything was done, then we had Langeweile. What was it?
We're bored.
I had always books with me. I read a lot. I was a young officer, a young watch officer aboard of my boat. And I had to learn a lot of the older comrades. So we had 4 hours of duty and 8 hours free, because this crew had 51 crew members. Everybody aboard of a U-boat knew exactly what he has to do in every situation.
The Russian submarine Lembit, that claims to have collided with the U-479, was built by Vickers Armstrong in Britain, originally for Estonians. It is approximately the same size and speed as the U-479, and at least in theory, could have hit the German U-boat hard enough to cause serious damage. The Kiel Channel is teeming with ships and boats of all sorts. Kiel is famous for its sailing events. However, this is just normal Baltic Sea traffic on a beautiful summer's day. It's a hypnotizing sight. Kiel Channel has been this country's main naval base since 1860s and the centre for German shipbuilders. This naval base is still in active use. You can see war memorials by the water's edge. Kiel was known as the war harbour of the Nazi Germany and was heavily bombed by the Allied forces during the Second World War. That round structure is a U-boat pressure chamber, where U-boats could be tested for faults and leaks before they were put to real use. To our surprise, U-boats are still built here, and the lost U-boat U-479 was built right here in these docks. Back in our car, we travelled to the former East Germany. Travelling from west to east, the landscape doesn't change a lot. It just comes even more rural. We drive all the way to the tip of the Baltic Sea island Usedom to Peenemünde. This is the famous German military and research base, where the V1 and V2 rockets were developed by scientist Wernher von Braun. You can learn all about the history of the rockets in the especially designated Rocket Museum. The much feared, destructive and silently travelling supersonic V2 was the first man-made object launched into space. At the end of the Second World War, Wernher von Braun and his expert team were swiftly snatched by Americans to kickstart the NASA space program. Many criticised this decision and saw von Braun as a danger to America because of his Nazi German past. But his defenders thought that he was not a politician, but first of all a scientist, and without him, NASA couldn't have developed its Saturn V rockets and missions to the moon and beyond. One more Baltic submarine museum, recommended by our U-boat expert Jack. Since the Second World War, East Germany was ruled by the socialist government, and as a reminder of the Cold War years, there was a Russian submarine museum here in Peenemünde. These Juliet-type subs were made in the 1960s to provide the Soviet Navy with nuclear strike capacity against USA aircraft carriers. They carried nuclear cruise missiles. There were grand plans for these submarines, but only 16 got built in Gorky, Russia. This Juliet U-461 is 90 meters long and sometimes stayed on patrol for more than 90 days, 3 months at a time. With more than 70 men on board, it seems really dark and oppressive inside. We are heading towards the Estonian islands to start the diving trips of the northern Baltic Sea. Divers, underwater cameras and diving boat Pelagonia and the Baltic Sea Rex are waiting for us. Swedish divers Tor, Par and Lotta dive Charlotta Schroeder. It lies 70 meters deep in the Baltic Sea. During this dive, the water was crystal clear.
What's interesting with Charlotte Schroeder is that the ship's bell is still there, and I hope it stays there because most of the time the ship's bell is like a trophy for divers. The first people to discover and dive the wreck usually take the ship's bell, but Charlotte Schroeder has a really nice, beautiful looking bell, and it's extraordinary to do the dive, and in the distance you see the bell. And
this is actually an awesome wreck. This is like normal size, maybe it's a little bit bigger than Augustus, so maybe like 75 meters long or something. Totally intact except for the bridge.
You see this kind of damage on a lot of wrecks in the Baltic. Fishermen fishing with nets or trawl, and they get caught.
Best information to positions for new wrecks is from the fishermen, because they keep track of every place they get caught with the net.
Back on the mainland Estonia, Tatjana and Kimmo pick up their Finnish colleague, Kari Ketola. We had a drink and a meal on a commuter ferry, but our mood doesn't fit the scene.
During the past few months, we've been doing a huge amount of work behind the scenes, organising the Baltic Sea diving trips. The Swedish diving team will join us later this month, but until then, we are supposed to explore the uncharted Estonian wrecks. At the base camp, our first rental cabin, we start frantically reorganising everything. The underwater casings for our high-definition cameras haven't arrived to Estonia, even though we've ordered them ages ago from the USA. They definitely should be here by now.
We can start filming before the camera casings arrive. They should be here in plenty of time during this week. Yes. Oh, that's very well done. So he'll be here 5-ish.
Then the weather gets lousy, and our diving boat will arrive late. It's still in Finland, only a few hours away, but it can't make the crossing in the storm. Is anything going to be ready in time for our diving trips in a few days' time? Luckily from the internet, we find Kert Meidra from Tallinn, Estonia. He is a diving instructor and knows the Heimar divers. Kert is willing to try to get his local friends to help us. As soon as the weather reports start promising better conditions, we hear that our diving boat Pelagonia is on its way from Finland. Technical fault in the ship had been blamed, but conspiracy theories live on. Nearby there's a touching memorial for the children of the Estonia car ferry disaster. It's small and modest. The bell has a face of a small child on it. It starts ringing when the wind swells up to the strength it did in the night of the accident. On the 28th of September 1994, on its way from Tallinn to Sweden, car ferry Estonia sank in the storm just after midnight. The bad weather and the freezing cold water made the rescue operation very difficult. Only 137 survived, and over 850 died in one of the worst modern-time maritime disasters. People on board were just everyday tourists and commuters, mostly Swedish and Estonians, and a few Finns. The ferry lies only 30 nautical miles northwest from here, at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. It's considered a grave site and a no-diving zone. The weather gets better, and when we meet the transit crew in the morning, the mood is already picking up. At the Lethma harbour, Pelagonia is snugly moored between the cargo ships and the sailboats. We start getting the boat ready for the diving trips and start loading on the camera and the diving gear. If only the American underwater camera casings weren't still missing. Keret has asked the Russian-Estonian diver and wreck hunter Andrei to come along. He knows everything about the local wrecks.
There's a U-boat U-479.
A German U-boat.
German U-boat, and it was outside Utö in Finland.
Okay.
And it was on the waters. It was some kind of mission, whatever. And Lembit came and knocked it, and it sank.
Russian-Estonian diver and wreck hunter Andrei Osipchuk has joined our diving crew for a few days. If you want to know about the local wrecks, he is the man to talk to. He has his own side-scan sonar and spends all his time diving the local waters. Since Tatjana and Kimmo don't speak any Russian, Martin does his best to translate. Finnish, Estonian and Russian. All different languages, but we'll manage somehow. The eastern Baltic waters around these Estonian islands are especially interesting. So, meanwhile, we see what the Swedish technical diving team Torper and Lotta get down to on the west side of the Baltic Sea. Via webcam, they tell us about a small cargo shipwreck they found, Swedish Humber.
This is
Humber.
Humber. This is a really small Swedish wreck. It's like 35, maybe 40 meters long. And they were in the middle of the winter and the ice was like packing up, so they got actually stuck in the ice. And they had no radio on board the ship. And we found this wreck 2004, I guess. So me and Lotta, we were actually the first divers.
It was very exciting.
It was like the visibility was 25 meters. And to be like the first person on the wreck, you have no idea where it is. This is adventure. It's really cool. But we search for any, name. Is there a name anywhere? So we found a ship's bell with a name and a date, a year on it.
We found the name in the stern where it said Humber, and the lifeboats were no longer on the ship, so it's quite obvious that
tried to rescue
themselves, but because of the hard weather, the storm weather, and it was winter and cold and the pack ice, they didn't survive.
We found the captain's cabin, which is still intact. You can see the bunk, you can see those mattresses with horse hair sticking out. You can see lots of personal stuff inside there.
Yeah.
So I like this wreck a lot. This is an easy dive. It's maybe 45 meters deep. That's the coolest part with diving wrecks, is untouched wrecks. Is that it's kind of a cliche, but it's a frozen moment.
It is.
Everything is in the same place that it was when it sank. So the time is still. Even if if you find a clock, it probably has stopped at the time when it actually sank. So it's hard to actually that feeling of being on a wreck. I think in some of the shots maybe we have got some bits of it, but not fully. You have to probably experience it yourself.
The divers Martin, Lenin and Andrus are happy to take the plunge. They do ordinary sports diving, much more straightforward than the technical Trimex diving our Swedish diving team does. You'll have to watch the boat crew while the divers are diving. Unfortunately, there is no chance of getting any underwater footage today. We are still waiting for the underwater camera cases from the USA Diving Gear Company.
Hi, this is Kimmo calling again.
They should have arrived already. Every time we talk to them, it gets more awkward.
Tracking information. What's the courier?
The company can't even give us a tracking number.
FedEx. Oh, okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Because the coastal regions are so shallow here, the water gets exceptionally warm by August. Something you wouldn't expect from the northern waters.
The water is very, very warm, about 18 degrees. Okay.
When we start heading back to Hiiumaa, the boat engine starts to overheat. We'll have to wait for it to cool down. We head back to the Lembit harbour. It's both a guest and work harbour. Local natural resource timber is often being loaded on cargo ships. They're on their way to the Finnish sawmills. All these young divers work in the forestry industry. It's a big business here. Our Finnish enforcement, diver Tuomas Astron, is waiting for us at the harbour. We have a meal at the beach bar by the Lembit harbour. A perfect warm evening, good food, great atmosphere.
Do you know how to sink a Swedish submarine?
No.
Send a diver to knock the door.
The jokes of the neighbouring countries and their peoples are forever popular. Tuomas has been doing sports diving for a long time. He also used to work in the diving shop in Helsinki and is well known amongst the Finnish divers.
And everything.
My stomach is exploding right now.
They used to have that.
With the help of laughter and general banter, we all get to know each other a bit better, while getting eaten alive by mosquitoes.
We're being eaten alive now, aren't we? Jälkiruoka.
Maybe dessert.
This bar is popular amongst surfers and divers.
And then bye-bye. Yep.
We make plans for the next few days.
Tomorrow we're planning visit Andrei's boat and visit the museum.
Yeah. And again, tomorrow we'll discuss what the program for the next day is, because then we'll know.
Hopefully we know tomorrow morning about the camera houses.
Two major problems: the boxes and the weather.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. And thank you.
Okay.
See you tomorrow.
Yep. Tomorrow. Bye bye. And thank you, Tannen.
The next day, the weather deteriorates. To turn our luck, we visit Ristimäki, Cross Hill in English. There's been a Swedish presence and minority population in Estonia for more than 700 years. Many times they have fled the occupying forces. When the 1,000 Swedes living in Hiiumaa packed their boats with their belongings in 1781, they came here to make a cross, with the wish that they could one day return to this beautiful island they considered their home. Even here we managed to do business.
49200.
We cannot wait for the vanished underwater camera boxes any longer, and have been able to locate one in Finland. Now we are organising to get it delivered here.
It left at 7, so it should be there in
9 minutes.
5 minutes.
In about 5 minutes. Yeah, exactly.
Every surface of the forest is covered in crosses of all sorts. It's very Blair Witch Project kind of place.
Very deep in the pocket.
Our rainy day continues. We meet the Estonian diving team in Suuressedem, one of the oldest harbours in Hiiumaa. It's now a shipyard, fishing and guest harbour. There's a small maritime museum here. Some of the small treasures that Andre has picked up from the wrecks at the bottom of the sea are on display. This place is different from the norm, since there are no "do not touch" signs anywhere. The old diving gear doesn't seem too comfortable.
Swimming.
How does it feel?
Do you know? Boring. This is orange. This is Fuck off.
Sulev Vakta, the chairman of the shipyard, is keen to tell us about the displays.
Se on sydvästeri. Jaa, aga mina siis ütlen, et see on see Neptuni hark. Need jalga siis ei kuku ümber. Nüüd teate, mis on? Jaa, teame. Kui meremehed lähevad kõrtsu, siis on üksteisele kohe antakse.
This is the kind of museum we like, with a real interactive feel to it. There's no need for high-tech multimedia display units. Andras tells us the story of an incredibly successful and notorious Hiiumaa pilot, von Ungern Sternberg.
Sternberg started to make these bonfires in the wrong place.
At the end of the 18th century, Baron Ludwig von Ungern Sternberg was the most feared pirate of the Baltic Sea. With false fires, he lured the passing ships to the cliff edge of the Hiiumaa island. With the help of his men, he killed the crew and collected the cargo. He was smart enough to involve many of the locals and share some of the loot with a large group of people, so nobody was willing to give him up. Tatjana and Kimmo went to see von Ungun's house, Suurimuissa. It's a grand building indeed, huge in scale and style. Although we were here early in the afternoon, the place was locked. The house is used as a primary and technical school, and a former student, Agatha, comes to our rescue and finds a teacher to let us in.
Aha! Yes. That's the picture that is in the...
There he is, Baron Ludwig von Ungen Sternberg, a baron, a pirate, and a very wealthy man. The local divers know the spot where the pirate von Ungen sank the ships. They want to explore that area in the near future. Andre's boat is usually moored here, by the big fishing boats. Andre takes off on his own boat. We didn't know at the time that this was the last we would see of Andre. During the whole time, there was a communications problem with him. We didn't share the language, and our documentary filming methods seemed to be entirely alien to him. Too bad. He didn't realise that we were filming him all the time.
He's very mad diver, always alone.
Yeah.
Tonight it's time to move our base camp, and surprise, surprise, it's all finished. Only a few days ago, it didn't even have any windows or doors. The builders must have worked hard. This holiday home is a traditional Hiiumaa farmhouse, now completely renovated for our comfort. A new diver, Leena Ranaste, joins our motley crew. She's Kurt's diver friend from Tallinn. The next day things start to move on. We get a call from our executive producer. He has sent us his brand new rib to be used as a secondary diving boat. It seems that we are in business at last.
Merelased muutuvad.
Ehk siis noh, otsad on nagu kõik teada.
Totally dry.
This is going smoothly.
Yeah. Yeah. This is it.
The divers Tuomas, Martin and Roman go for a quick test dive to try out the camera case. The casing is big and old, meant for a film camera. But this is the best we can get for now. Diver Tuomas gets a nickname from the Estonians, Eagle Eyes. You can see why.
How is it?
Normal.
Very crazy weather. Very crazy.
But it was beautiful.
Cross waves coming from both waves.
Yeah.
No joo, mutta pärjätte.
Katsotaan.
Helvetin huonosti.
Il Capitano.
Il Capitano.
Thank you for the safe ride.
Il muerto.
Il Muerto.
No water.
At last, an underwater image.
Underwater picture.
Wow! Yeah! It's quite nice.
Now that our main Estonian contact Kurt has arrived, it's time to have a proper talk about our Russian captain Andre.
Martin said that we'll do when you arrive. Because he didn't want to start to explain it because he was worried about his translation.
He had agreed to spend at least a week with us, but just after 2 days of filming, he has told Kurt he's ready to leave.
About the communication problems and that.
Maybe when he's not needed that much anymore, he
can leave. He will give us all the coordinates. And
Andre is already bored and frustrated and doesn't understand the whole filmmaking process. Maybe Kurt can explain things to him.
That's like I will explain it to him.
Yeah.
He's a bit different.
But he's a nice guy.
Yeah? Yeah.
Tuomas fills the bottles and we are ready to start diving. But, surprise, surprise, Captain Andre has had enough and tells Kurt he's not coming back.
Maybe we see in the video.
Yes, again.
It takes exactly 2 minutes to decide who the next captain will be.
This is the new captain.
His name shall be Martin or Captain Morgan, as we quickly rename our new leader.
So let's see how resourceful he is.
Very nice.
Today, Lady Baltic Sea shows us its most beautiful features. It's such a great day, it hardly seems like work.
And everything. And he can find the wreck and then put the anchor down there, and then we move this Pelargonia a little bit far and also anchor to the bottom.
Since Andre and his side-scan sonar left us unexpected,
I think maybe 15 meters more.
we have to locate the wreck of the survey boat Vest,
So where the rubber boat is. Oh, okay.
using the coordinates of the wreck and the rubber rib. You can usually recognise the known wrecks in the boat's underwater sonar. It just tends to be a bit more difficult. The divers do 2 diving trips to the wreck Vest. It was part of the fleet of survey vessels that were bombed and sunk during the Second World War, 23rd of July 1941. It's not a big ship and lies in shallow waters, in depth of about 16 meters. It's so shallow, you can see lots of surface light in these images, and lots of silt. Since the day happened to be quite windy, all the sediment is on the move. It's like a soup. Tuomas is handling the camera and he does well, capturing some of the wreck and the divers. But the visibility is still poor. There's nothing we can do about that.
Treasure yet.
Aikaisemmin aina koko maski. Silloin se oli hyvä.
Wind is high and the sea a bit choppy, but it doesn't matter much. This is what's really astonishing. It takes a big investment, hours of preparations, and hours of travel to do less than 1 hour of diving. It seems hardly worth it, but all the divers tell us otherwise. It's more than worth it, and when you go down there, it's a world of its own. We have noticed that whenever the diving team is back, they are so happy that they are all smiles. It's called a diver's high.
I think we should try maybe tomorrow morning to take the rubber boat, the rib, and go just me, Martin, Thomas, and you, to the same place and do the dive. Okay. So we will check the weather at 2200 hours tonight.
Yes.
Then it will be more clear about the morning.
Hommel ei pida olla vaid sellel moel kanssa.
Õige, ette lasta.
Ära vaidle!
Ta läheb kirdesse.
Ei lähe.
Okei, hyvä päivä jatkuu. Bye.
And we'll see you again.
Yes.
Aga millal me näeme uuesti?
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Very early next morning, our plans are confirmed. The weather report warns us of high winds by the afternoon. Pelagonia is clumsy and slow, and we all decide to leave her behind. It would be a lot quicker to just take the rib to the wreck. The crew will be there and back in no time at all. The divers today are Finnish Tuomas and Estonians Lena and Martin. Kari will drive the rib. Kimmo is filming all this. A friendly local cat is wishing us good luck. Coordinates of the close-by wreck are programmed onto the GPS. The divers gear up and go. But then disaster strikes. Even before the divers moor, Kimmo knows there's something wrong. The rib is back too soon. The camera case has flooded. It could have been a fault in the old camera case or a human mistake. And if any tiny particle gets in between the rubber seals, the casing would leak under water pressure. Even the half-salty Baltic Sea water can destroy electric equipment in seconds. This high-definition camera is as good as gone. You can see the devastation in everyone's faces.
No leaks. Possible to fix, I think.
Salt water is quite bad. It usually corrodes everything.
But maybe we must put this camera to the fresh water.
Soaking it in fresh water might save the tape. It's worth a try anyway. Is this what a diving camera is supposed to look like?
Other people build the boats in the bottle, so we have a camera in the bottle. You want to buy a camera? £5.
£5.
Very good camera. Underwater camera, as you can see.
Thomas is absolutely gutted, but there's no crying over spilt milk. After all, it's just a camera. Thomas is ready to go home, and he'll take the camera casing back to Finland with him. Nobody is accusing him for this mishap, but naturally that doesn't stop Kimmo from teasing him.
How does it feel now? How does it feel now? Can you give us a comment? How does it feel now? He says he's very sorry and will go to the sea now and drown himself. The good old Finnish way.
Wise.
Walk into the lake.
Yes, wise.
Yeah.
That's why. Best sauna in.
And then the boys go for a sauna. It's an old Scandinavian tradition. We still have some time on our hands to see some Baltic seaside sights. Martin, Lena and Dan join us. The motor sailing ship Ala is not much to look at, but it has great symbolic significance for the locals. 144 people tried to escape the occupied Estonia to the neutral Swedish waters at the end of the Second World War on board this old work ship.
Stop!
But it was captured.
No.
Women and children were released, and men sent to prison in Tallinn.
Okay.
The after-war years of Ala were eventful. This ship has sailed the seas under German, Swedish, English and Panaman flags, and only came back to Estonia after 60 years of adventures. It stands as memorial to the colourful seafaring history. This ferry line is the connection between the islands of Hiiumaa and Saaremaa. Kopu Lighthouse is the symbol of Hiiumaa. It's one of the oldest lighthouses in the Baltic Sea, and the third oldest still operating lighthouse in the world. 500 years ago, the Hanseatic League was complaining about losing too many ships in the Baltic Sea. They needed landmarks and guiding lights. The construction took a long time to complete, since the locals were making a nice extra income looting the sunken ships. The Sea Mark became a lighthouse only in 1649, when a wooden staircase was built to the outside wall and wood and coal was burned on top of the tower. There's a Soviet-era watchtower to watch the people who came to visit the lighthouse. So this is what's called double surveillance. The lighthouse used so much wood that all the surrounding forests were hacked clean as far as you can see. And still, when the fires were most needed, in storm and rainy weather, the fire often got extinguished. In later years, this very steep and narrow staircase was tunnelled into the lighthouse, and other light systems, oil, gas and then electricity, have replaced the original wood fires. The latest addition is the concrete skirt that holds this very old structure upright and is still in use, visible miles and miles to the Baltic Sea. After the sightseeing, we have burgers in this exotic underground bar. Lena tells us that she has made friends for life during the trip to Hiiumaa, and Dan turned out to be a good tourist guide. He works for the local museum department and knows about the old buildings. These are the last few pictures you'll see from this day. We ate the burgers, started to drink beer and gin long drinks, ended up listening to old rock and new heavy metal. And we vaguely remember dancing all night in some local restaurant. Luckily, we don't have any pictures to prove any of these stories.
Kiitos paljon. Hei hei.
We are pretty much where we started at the beginning of this TV series 8 months ago in Konala, suburbs of Helsinki, Finland. Back to our friend Jari's flat, making plans.
On ruokaa.
There are the American underwater camera casings that we were desperately waiting for in Estonia. They finally found their way, surprise, surprise, to Finland. It's too little, too late. This is the man behind the entire Baltic Sea adventure. Him and his lost German U-boats. By now, we have too many cameras and underwater casings, but not enough divers to use them.
Nyt meillä on sit liikaa niitä.
Nyt meillä on liikaa kameraa.
The Finnish archipelago sea is an unknown wonder. It's the largest archipelago in the world by the number of islands. Numerous ferry lines form the so-called archipelago ring road. Most of these ferries are free, or only charge a small fee. The exact figure for the amount of Finnish islands is anybody's guess. Estimations vary from 20,000 to 50,000, since sometimes it's a matter of opinion to tell the difference between an island and a rock. In comparison, the number of Indonesian islands range between 13,000 and 18,000, and the number of Greek islands is no more than 1,400, even when the very word archipelago, meaning a cluster of islands, comes from Greece. We stay overnight in a guest house on the island of Nauru, where Pelagonia is moored. Beautiful place, and no other guests around. In August, the Finnish holiday season is over already. Jari, who is a diver and works as an engineer for the Finnish army, has taken care of sorting out diving permits for the Swedish technical diving team. We'll meet them tomorrow on the island of Korpo. We'll be looking for the lost U-479 outside Utto Island. But we'll also find other wrecks for the Swedish team to dive in the outer archipelago. But we know the layout and there's no lack of interesting dive sites.
Se on kanssa semmoinen panssarilaiva. Ja se on...
Olisi tarkoitus vielä tehdä kuvauksia.
Miten se laadukaan?
Just nearby, the Finnish Baltic Sea holds in its bosom a true treasure. The 18th century ship Vero Maria is estimated to be the most valuable treasure ship in the world. Vero Maria, Lady Mary, was a standard two-masted wooden merchant ship. She was on her way from Amsterdam, Holland to St. Petersburg, Russia. Works of art and sculptures were on their way to nobody else but Catherine the Great of Russia. On October 1771, a month into her voyage, an autumnal storm sunk her outside the island of Jurmo in southwestern Finnish archipelago, and there she rests, neat and tidy, almost untouched, ship cargo and all. At the time, only 6 paintings were salvaged. Vero Maria was lost and forgotten for over 200 years, until maritime archaeologist Kristen Ahlström became interested in her story. A famous Finnish commercial diver, Rauno Koivusaari, and his crew finally found the wreck in 1999. In Finland, we met Mr. Koivusaari's friends, researcher Mikael Martikainen and diver John Liljelund, who both played their part in finding Vero Maria.
The Vero Maria is special in the sense that as a wreck it's in very good condition. It's said to have carried a very valuable cargo. Works of art bought by Catherine the Great from an auction in Amsterdam. There was an international highway between St. Petersburg and Central Europe going through this area where it sunk. So it was just a lorry carrying a cargo, but the fact that what cargo it carried and what a beautiful condition it is today.
And it's still a beautiful lorry. From Maria I think that it's the only treasure ship in the world. That because if you go into the Caribbean Sea or places like that where is that kind of ships and shipwrecks, there is only sand and the coins, but there is no wreck anymore.
There's no wood, no. This is handwritten note from the Dutch archives in Amsterdam. The most interesting, I think, and which proved then to be very crucial for the identification of the wreck was this inventories. Do you remember this?
Yes, I remember, because we did find the anchor there.
Yeah, the anchors.
Yeah.
In Vap anchor in the flock broken, which means basically that it was a warp anchor with one arm missing, and that was, I think, about the first items that you found.
Yes, we were the first guys to go down there, and the wreck was behind. It was in my back. I went down to the bottom. I was about 1 meter above the bottom. You can see anything. Then when I
turned around, I saw the whole wreck. I saw the sunlight coming down from the shore, and the half of the wreck was like a silhouette.
Oh my god.
And it was like from Donald Duck. It was really amazing.
By the way, Donald Duck is a very popular cartoon character in Scandinavia. Unsurprisingly, a dispute has been going on for years about the fate of Vero Maria. Should she be raised and salvaged? Should she remain underwater as a diving site with an archaeological interest? The heated debate continues. The Swedish technical diving team have joined us on our Baltic Sea adventure in the Finnish archipelago. Our diving boat Pelagonia was moored overnight at Korpastrom harbour. The kind people of Korpastrom gave us permission to moor at the end of the pier. It's an ideal position for loading all the diving gear. Boy, do we have a lot of stuff. After having just spent time with the Estonian sports divers in the Hiiumaa waters, we are quickly reminded how many gas bottles the Trimex divers need.
Alongside, yeah.
And then just the soft stuff, the soft bags down. Yeah. We have some other wrecks to dive.
Yes, we have.
Here is the Utto map.
We have a quick planning session and tell the team about the wrecks close to the Utto island and the lost U-boat U-479. Today the divers will dive the famous wreck of Park Victory, an American cargo ship sunk in a storm outside Utto. Jari tells the details.
Utto, where we are staying, and here is Park Victory. It's to the bottom 38 about.
Yeah. It's quite nice looking. And the water is very clear. So for the filming purposes, you should be able to do quite nice images there.
It's quite a big ship.
Yes.
150 meters or something.
17.16 edelleen ollaan tällä. Jurmo kohti.
Producer Tony Radic has travelled from Tallinn, Estonia to help us with the boat in the rubber rib. He owns a couple of boats by the Baltic anyway, and he's a navigator. It's good to have him on board. From Inner Archipelago, we'll be heading to the outermost year-round habited island of Finland, Utto. The Swedish name Utto means outer island in English. People have lived on these islands for thousands of years. Fishing and fish processing, shipping, trade and tourism are the main income. There are around 60,000 permanent residents scattered around the archipelago. Most of them are Swedish-speaking Finns. Since summer cabins and tourism are the ever-increasing business, the population more than doubles during the summer months. The divers had their own camera gear with them, but they get interested in the extra camera casings we brought with us. Maybe they can do something useful with them. They start putting together a scooter cam from the materials we happen to have with us on board. A big part of the archipelago belongs to the province of Åland, a Swedish-speaking autonomous and demilitarized part of Finland. This status goes way back. The archipelago is situated in a position of great strategic importance. Finns, Swedes, Russians and Germans have all had their eye on the islands during different wars. And during the Crimean War, even Anglo-French forces attacked Åland.
I think it's actually a strange a rock. Extremely strange.
In 1856, it was decided that the island should not be fortified and remain independent, as a barrier between the many occupying forces. Not that no one wouldn't have tried, even after that. For years it's been forbidden to dive the wreck of Park Victory. It lies in the military zone not far from the Utö Coast Guard station. Jari, who works for the Finnish military, has organised for us diving permissions. But as soon as the divers start gearing up, we get a phone call asking if we have the paperwork in order. And of course we do, it's just a funny feeling that even out here at sea, somebody's watching us. The divers start gearing up. They're like underwater spacemen and women.
So how do we get that thing in the water? Are you going to drop it off or?
Tor has put a line on a black line on the outside.
Yeah.
We can try to just lower it down.
Big American cargo ship Park Victory was anchored outside Utö, near the islet of Lillehammer. It was Christmas Eve in 1947. Park Victory was to spend the night and then continue to Helsinki. The pilot had already boarded the vessel. He was meant to guide the ship through the maze of the archipelago and the still uncleared Second World War minefields. But late that night, a storm rose. The ship started to roll and the anchor chain broke. The ship drifted to rocks, started to leak and sink. Panic ensued. When lifeboats were lowered, others who had jumped into the sea were crushed. Some managed to swim to nearby rocks to wait for rescue. The people of Utö came to help and, risking their own lives, managed to save 38 men. The islanders opened their homes to the survivors and they spent that Christmas on the island. What a Christmas it must have been. 10 men died that night. The evening sun is setting when we moor at the Utö harbour. The divers unload the rubber rib.
Happy?
Yeah.
Good.
Happy.
It's really beautiful, but all these mosquitoes.
It's a picture postcard evening. Again, Jari's army connections come to good use. We get permission to use the Utö Army Barracks as a base camp, as long as we promise to leave it the way we find it. No extra services are on offer. We didn't quite know what to expect, but the accommodation is really good. Big, clean and comfortable.
Drinks, everybody.
It's the last on the right is ours.
We start to prepare dinner right away. Everybody's really hungry by now.
Oh, you have your briefcase. So what do? You work at the Heineken.
The waters outside Utö are known as the graveyard of ships. There are many wrecks here. This beautiful summer sun can turn into fierce winter storms, and the numerous rocks make the sea difficult to navigate.
Have you got enough rope to give them so that we can back?
Cross waves make getting hold of the buoy really difficult, and Lady Pelagonia is tricky to manoeuvre. It takes some time and effort, and there are some hairy moments, but finally we get there. It's important not to give up.
Are we kind of...
Yeah, now we're stuck.
We are stuck?
Yeah.
And stuck usually is bad.
No, this is in a good way.
This is good stuck.
Lampan är kul. Lampan är kul.
Den här i potten. Ja, det är den.
One of the gases the Trimix divers use is helium. And we all know what helium does.
This is such a hardcore male thing, the diving. Only those macho guys who do it.
The diving team is ready to go again, and we lower the scooter cam to them. Good luck to us all. Meanwhile, it's the old waiting game for the boat and film crew. The divers had a good dive today.
Be careful with the lens.
And the scooter cam is still in one piece. Another successful day.
Oh. Was the visibility better than yesterday?
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah.
Quite a lot better.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like even...
The camera, the film from the scooter camera I think will be excellent. We have to check that film.
Yeah. Was it a good dive?
It's a really good dive.
On a gorgeous day like this, it's hard to imagine that during winter months, the villagers are sometimes housebound for days and have to tie all their loose property down with ropes if they don't want their stuff to be blown out into the sea. The icebreakers keep the ferry connections going, and yet the life in these island communities can become pretty grim during the autumnal storms. But that's part of the charm and makes the islanders special. You've got to be multi-skilled to survive in these conditions all year round. There are only about 30 permanent residents on Aalto, but the population is ever changing because of holiday and summer visitors, and the presence of the army and the coast guards.
Do we fire? You're hungry now.
Yeah.
Do we fire up the grill upstairs and do the sausages
Yeah,
now?
why not? That's
yeah.
perfect. Would
Yeah.
you want
salad?
We have a grilled lunch at Pelagonia. Food always tastes better outside.
Was it okay?
Tor transfers the Park Victory diving footage onto hard drive, so that we can all view it from the computer screen.
You want to see the video? Tanya? Kari? No? Video time. Do you have your ticket?
Yeah, check this one.
I threw that. Wasn't it a good shot?
Nice.
Yeah. You didn't even touch him.
You tried. You have.
Park Victory is a new dive site for Tor, Per and Lotta, and they were positively surprised. The American cargo ship is big, 150 meters long, and the scooters became handy. They make it a lot quicker to get from place to place and get an idea of the wreck. They were right. The scooter cam pictures are brilliant. Park Victory is quickly falling apart. First of all, it snapped in two when it sank, but since then the deterioration has been significant. Most of the chimneys and masts have collapsed, and the deck is in a bad state. These divers make an excellent underwater filming team. They have been diving together for years. They are really good at lighting the wrecks with their powerful underwater lights. This is the ship's bow. It's massive in a big ship like this, and gives you an idea of the scale of the wreck. Tor is filming with the main underwater camera. Per does fine work with the lights, while Lotta is the one handling the scooter cam. It's usually just Lotta and Per in the pictures since Tor is behind the camera. It's funny how the Baltic Sea can preserve old wood. At the same time, the half-salty water still manages to destroy steel cargo ships. The place of the wreck is also important. The deeper they rest, the safer they are from the high seas, packed ice and fishing nets. The position where Park Victory lies is open to all the elements outside the outer Finnish islands. Diving wrecks is dangerous, and diving broken down wrecks even more so. There's always a possibility of getting trapped. The divers look after one another. In the first place, we are here to look for the lost German U-boat, U-479. But we hear from the Finnish diver Jussi Karttunen. He's just searched the collision site of U-boat U-479 and Russian submarine Lembit. While we are waiting for the latest conclusions about the incident, we decided to dedicate the day to the sites at Untold. That's easily done since all the local attractions are only 5 minutes walk away.
So what should we do? Lighthouse first and then go by here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The candy-coloured lighthouse is a well-known landmark, and it is the first and the most southern lighthouse in Finland. The original lighthouse was blown to pieces during the Swedish-Russian War in the early 19th century. This building was built soon after that, in 1814.
Lighthouse yhteen. Kutsuu ja kuuntelee.
We meet some enthusiastic radio amateurs. Although the outer islands are well connected to the mainland, these guys are prepared if disaster strikes. All radio amateurs out there, please contact Jeren. He is waiting for your call.
Sierra Mexico 5, Sierra India Charlie på engelska.
Yes. So we try to go to where we're going?
To the church.
The lighthouse church is still in use, and it's a popular spot to get married. exotic and remote, and therefore romantic. Older people on the island started to complain about the stairs to the lighthouse church, so a prayer house was built. A typical coastal church feature is a model of a sailing ship, commemorating all of those lost at sea and a reminder of the men still out there. We are here because of Park Victory. There's a silver 10-light candelabra to remember the 10 men that drowned when the American cargo ship Park Victory sank. Framed on the wall, there's a letter from the American embassy thanking the people of Untold for their bravery saving the lives of the crew of Park Victory.
To Your Excellency, my warm admiration for the heroic actions of the townspeople of Untold in the rescue of the crew of a sinking American vessel. Then the same townspeople took into their homes for shelter and for nourishment the survivors of the shipwreck. And it's thanking the Finnish people for their courage and seamanship.
Only recently, the island of Untold also became famous for being the first rescue station for the Estonia ferry disaster. We saw the children's memorial in Estonian island of Hiiumaa just a while ago. We are just north from the accident site.
Nice to see other people work.
Yep. That's the best part. But you've really got into the filming side of things. There are divers that just dive.
Yeah, we started it as an extra thing to the diving. It's more like a project that everyone has a specific task to do, and when you come up and see that everything has been working, it's great.
Yeah, and this is the hard part, is that you have the guy who handles the lighting, and then the film, and then the models, and they all have to work together, but without communicating under the water, because you can't really have a discussion going on.
When you're at 70 meters or 60 meters, you don't have much time.
No.
So every second's really count, and you have one take. That's it. And then next time we can do the same take again.
We learn new things every dive we do.
Do you have a lot of problem to find divers that you can work with?
I think the biggest problem is to find good enough divers. Who you can count on, because you don't dive to 60, 70 meters with anyone.
No.
You have to know the people and dive a couple of dives with them first to do an advanced dive together. So in Sweden it's probably maximum 20 people.
Probably this Park Victory is quite good to start.
Yeah,
because it's kind of you have this shallow end.
It's a starter wreck.
The depth, the depth is really good for a starting wreck, but it's a pretty advanced dive because it's dark and the visibility is not that good, and the wreck is pretty broken. It's big, so it's quite hard to navigate on the wreck. So it's I wouldn't dive with a total. A new diver there. And that's the other thing with the technical diving. It's the boats, everything has to be thought of in advance. Where to put the tanks on the boat, how to get into the water, how to get out of the water, especially in the deep dives. Because if this would have been deep dives we were doing, we couldn't lift anything for 1 to 2 hours afterwards. We have to sit down, take it calm.
Have you been doing cave diving?
Yes, I've been doing cave diving, but I've been diving caves in US and Mexico. The problem in Sweden, we only have one very little cave in Sweden. That's all.
In Finland, I think there's supposed to be some kind of mine.
Yeah, there are some good mines.
Lots of techniques we learn in cave diving can be used in wreck diving as well. When you go into the wrecks and things like that. It's not the same environment in any way, but you can adapt some of the techniques. So I think cave diving is, the education is very good, and cave diving is really fun.
You have a very weird idea of fun, don't you?
I think that's really scary looking.
In the first place, we came here to dive the nearby collision site of Russian submarine Lembit and German U-boat U-479. In 1944, the Russian submarine Lembit was on its way to Helsinki when it hit an unidentified object. Could it have hit the German U-boat U-479 that got lost in the Baltic Sea at the same time? There's been some late developments regarding the incident. Our side-scan sonar expert, Finnish diver Jussi Karttunen, has just searched the collision site. There are some surprise conclusions. This puts a spanner in the works. If the location has just been searched, there is not much point in going there with the Swedish technical diving team. We'll meet Jussi Karttunen soon again in mainland Finland. He will tell us the results of his expedition. Time to make new plans. This is the last morning at the Auto Army Barracks. Film and boat crew and the Swedish diving team are all packing their gear and getting ready to leave. We were very lucky with the weather during these few days, and although our plans changed dramatically, we are still very happy with the trip. We say goodbye to the idyllic Utto. This small group has a good representation of the northern Baltic peoples. Lotta was born in Finland, a Finnish Swede, but is now a Swedish citizen. Tora was born in Norway, but now lives in Sweden. Only Pär is originally Swedish. Tony is from Tallinn, Estonia. Jari and Kari are from Finland. Tatjana and Kimmo are Finns currently living in England. This summarises the history of the Baltic Sea. People have always moved around and used the Baltic Sea as the highway.
It's rated down to like, I don't know, 150 meters, something like that. Yeah, it's like 1,500 watts normal lighting.
Actually, it's 7 to 8 times more effective than just global.
Yeah.
The divers tell us about technical and commercial diving.
I think the biggest risk is to breathe the wrong gas.
Yeah.
And if you breathe the wrong gas, you die. You're like showing your tank to the other guys, and it's like, oh, okay, this is like 21 meter gas. You check your gauge, it's 21 meters. You take the hose, check it again, it's 21 meters, and then you switch the gas, and everybody's looking at you at the same time. So even in like 70 meter dive, 60 meter dive, if you do like a 60 meter dive for 20 minutes and goes direct to the surface, you will die.
That's a snorkel.
Snorkel is fine.
Yeah.
All the Baltic Sea countries have influenced each other through history, in good and bad.
Shall we leave your stuff down there? Shall we bring it up? Leave it. Okay.
Wars have brought misery. Occupations have changed state lines, while commerce and travel have united, profited and enriched. Still, the different cultures surrounding the Baltic Sea have remained so diverse and strong. We are back in Korpastrom. When mooring, our captain Jari loses his sea legs. Does he survive the fall? Jari blames a wobbly plank on the pier. To our relief, he lives to tell the story with only a bruised leg and a bruised ego.
Är det mer fler eller?
Everybody starts the journey back home. The diving team pack their cars, then drive to the mainland Finland and take a ferry back to Stockholm, Sweden. We say goodbye for now to our friends.
Get on with it. Say your goodbyes now.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thanks.
Nice trip.
Yes, have a safe.
Yeah. Jaa. Olette itse tehneet sen pitkään mahdollisuuden.
The rib is packed on the trolley. Caddy and the rib go back to Helsinki. The owners of Pelagonia come to collect their boat.
So this is it. It's finally over. It's been a good time.
Kimmo, Tatjana, Tony and Jari spend one night at the guest house at Korpu. We are all exhausted.
No niin, nyt päälle. No niin. Thanks for a great weekend. Having a drink, trying to get tour to sing karaoke, no luck. This far, we guessed you would be easier to get on the stage. Smiley face.
In the morning, Tony journeys back to Estonia. Tatjana and Kimmo travel to Helsinki to find out what diver Jussi Karttunen has found out about the alleged collision between Russian submarine Lembit and the lost German U-boat U-479. We meet Jussi at his diving club.
Okay, so you went to check out this site.
Yeah,
with the site scan.
Yeah, the site is here on the map. You can see this really deep canyon, almost, or not almost, but they're 100 meters deep, and this canyon is going past Uutö main island. And this location where Lembit claims that they had this collision is just on the western side of this main shipping lane coming in from the sea.
How large area did you cover by
the area covered was 2 miles wide and 3 miles in the south. North
so you went
direction.
over the rim of the
yeah we went all of the to the side of the canyon, so that we really wanted to make sure that we cover the whole area.
And you have the saved file?
Yeah, we have the recording footage we made, and here's the previous file from the previous track. You can see that the bottom is just like empty. There's clear and rather flat sandy bottom, but here, look what we have here. Here's a in the middle of really flat bottom, there's suddenly depth change. This is a rock formation, and the depth change is more than 12 meters, 14 meters roughly.
Yeah.
And suddenly the bottom rises from 40 meters all the way to 25, 26, 28 meters, and that's something that in theory could be something that Lembit could have hit.
End of 1944 and the Second World War. Submarine Lembit reports hitting a German U-boat. In that political climate, accidentally hitting a rock would have meant bad news for the submarine captain and crew.
We checked the local papers that if it would have collided with some fishing boat or something, there should be some kind of information in the papers at that time that if there were 4 or 5 men lost and a boat lost, that should be somewhere, but there's no record. And of course, if they would have hit a fishing boat, the fishing boat would be there.
Yeah, definitely.
And so in that way, the collision with the rock formation probably is the
and the
conclusion.
Location of this rock formation matches rather nicely, and as I said, it's really flat all over around this area.
If you think about the Lembit, there wouldn't be that many people who would know what happened because
that's true.
The crew wouldn't know it. It would be the captain and the guy who's using the sonar or whatever system they have there. So they could easily kind of fake it.
I believe that it is really easy to fake the whole thing and then say to the crew, but hey, this is the official story, and everyone else, you guys don't say a word.
Who wants to have a long trip in Siberia?
Who wants to go for a skiing holiday in Siberia?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So U-479 is still somewhere.
It's somewhere
lost
on the operational area probably.
Yeah, but at least we kind of sorted out one mystery of the Baltic Sea regarding the Lembit.
Yeah, congratulations for that.
Yeah.
Since the independence of Estonia, the British-built Lembit is again an Estonian submarine and a museum boat in Tallinn. After the collision, Lembit only needed minor repairs. The German U-boat U-479 is still missing in the Baltic Sea. This is the story that got us started on the journey. The outcome is not what we expected, but it seems plausible. So, Tatjana and Kimmo start heading back home to England. We take the ferry from Helsinki, Finland, to Stockholm, Sweden. The vessels between Helsinki and Stockholm are more like ocean liners, full of restaurants, tax-free shops, bars and clubs, and a good night's sleep in a nice cabin. We could do with some creature comforts at this point of the journey. The trip is not over yet, and we still have a few Baltic stories to tell. In Stockholm, we meet Per Åkesson, web designer, researcher and diver. He tells us about the mystery wreck found by the Swedish Navy. It lies 100 meters deep in the Baltic Sea. The quality of the underwater footage is not very good. It was filmed with the Navy robot camera.
Well, you know, in 2002 it was a sensation when the Swedish Navy found this thing. An intact 18th century ship standing with all masts on 100 meters depth, and it's a mystery ship. Nobody knows what it is. And they filmed this.
And not even what nationality it was.
Yeah.
That's also unknown.
Totally unknown. Any day, trawler fisher just might be going on this spot and destruct it totally.
Yeah, and because the masts are sticking 20 meters up, so
that's the big risk. So,
do you have any idea where it is? Have they given any kind of indication about the location, or is it on Swedish water?
Yes, no, it's on international water in the Baltic Sea.
Yeah.
But the location is kept secret by the captain, the commander of Belos, which is the Swedish Navy submarine rescue ship.
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that is that in Sweden we have this law that official information must be made public unless there is a very specific decision of making something classified or secret.
Yeah.
So if this commander would have written the location in the official logbook or something that, there would be this risk of this information being public, and then they fear that some commercial divers or treasure hunters would go there before an official investigation.
Yes.
The figurehead is a seahorse, and it's part animal, part human. It has human hands. So it's really a mythological figure. We believe that it has been totally gilded because in this video we see traces of gold gleaming. So it's a real beautiful figurehead.
Yeah.
The actual ship, of course, as we said, it's unknown, but it's not a big warship, and it's not a typical merchant ship. It's a small ship for some special purpose, maybe a small military ship, maybe a post ship has had cannons, maybe 6 cannons. We see that on the gun ports.
Yeah.
It's quite rare that a totally intact ship like this just sinks for no apparent reason and remains preserved.
Somebody pulled the plug.
Yes, maybe. We don't know. There may have been pirates taking those valuable secrets or whatever and then pulling the plug. But why would they do that? The ship was valuable, so it's a mystery.
Yeah.
It's a dream of any diver to find a historically significant wreck or a treasure ship with a valuable cargo. Driving through Sweden and crossing over the Danish Straits to Denmark, you have the option of taking yet another car ferry, or the longest road and rail bridge in Europe, the Öresund Crossing, opened in year 2000. It connects the Swedish town Malmö and the capital of Denmark, Copenhagen. The combined bridge and tunnel is 17 kilometers, about 10 miles long. The Danes are experienced bridge engineers. The whole country is made of Jutland Peninsula and a cluster of islands, and the long bridges keep them connected. When the bridge was first opened, the traffic was slow and the high toll charges were blamed. Now locals get discounts and the bridge is considered a good idea. The people can live in Sweden and keep on working in Denmark or vice versa. The Kingdom of Denmark is a gateway, positioned between Scandinavia and the rest of Europe, and between the Northern and the Baltic Sea, a perfect place for commerce and collecting taxes from all the passing sea vessels. A great location for accumulating wealth. Copenhagen is an ancient harbour, and even in Viking times there was a fishing village here. The village grew rapidly into a busy town. It's the capital of Denmark and the home of the oldest European monarchy. Many other nations have wanted a piece of the action. The war between Swedish and Danish monarchs went on for ages. The British have knocked on its doors and the Germans occupied it during the Second World War. But Denmark has prevailed and kept its prosperity. Today it's mostly known for architecture, design, culture and beer. Numerous ferry operators connect Sweden and Denmark. Having travelled the whole summer back and forth, taking many ferries crisscrossing the Baltic Sea, it brings to mind the environmental consequences. There must be a price to pay for the heavy traffic. The Baltic Sea is a very special place and said to be the largest brackish, low saline level sea in the world. It has been a dumping ground for all kinds of chemicals and toxins throughout history. One of the big polluters has been the wood processing industry, and old insecticides that have been banned for decades, like DDT, are still lingering around. The ever-increasing shipping does threaten the very fragile ecosystem of the inner sea. The oil spills are more frequent, where the traffic is busiest. A major oil leak will be disastrous because of the slow exchange of water and the many unique marine species. But the news is not all bad. The sea is expertly monitored and the strict rules govern the industry and shipping, especially in the Scandinavian and western side of the sea. In the east, the rapid economic growth of the former Eastern Bloc countries has brought new challenges. But as the new European Union nations, they'll have to follow suit. And back to wreck diving. Especially the old war wrecks that carried weapons and toxins are a real threat to the sea. So finding and analysing the old wrecks and their cargo and emptying the rusting oil tanks is vital also for the environmental point of view. Despite all of this, the Baltic Sea is considered fairly clean by international standards. But it takes a lot of funding, hard work and cooperation between the countries to keep it so, and hopefully make it better.
Internet preservation, so we only have the number.
Okay. Space or... Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you.
Finally, the last ferry of this voyage for Tatjana and Kimmo, from Eresburg over the North Sea back to Harwich, England. Since the journey is almost finished, it puts us in a reflective mood. We've learned so much about the Baltic Sea during this adventure, but the more you learn, the more you want to know. We hardly visited the Gulf of Finland or the Gulf of Bothnia, the long shallow arms of the sea. Never even set foot in Latvia, Lithuania or Poland. The history is so rich with stories, and we only touched on some of the subjects. And there is still 50,000 wrecks in the Baltic Sea,